You're listening to Broncos for Breakfast with Nick Kendell and Scott Kennedy. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all things Broncos. Good morning, Broncos country.
There we go. Go live on Periscope. Let's see if that works. Periscope. There we go. Periscope had an issue at first. All right, last Facebook group here, and then we'll be good to go. Spinning wheel. There we go. Hello. Welcome into another episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am your host, Nicholas Kendell, along with my good friend and co-host, Scott Kennedy. Scott, happy 6th of July. I hope you enjoyed the somewhat extended weekend.
Yeah, I kind of did nothing yesterday, so it felt like that. Actually, I went over because, it had been at least a day without baseball. I went over and watched 12U World Series, over at East Cobb. So, there's a team. If you know anything about youth baseball, you've probably heard of East Cobb baseball, which is right where I grew up. And they've got a team that is now 57-0. That's good. Last time I checked, so I was like, I got to go check these boys out. Yeah, and they all look like they were 16 years old playing 12U baseball. It was crazy.
Man, unfortunately I'd been up that situation a few times in youth sports. One time we were told to go to a field, and I think I was like in 4th grade, and we were undefeated. We had a really good soccer team, and we went up against these guys, and they're all freaking massive. And I think our undefeated streak ends today. They were 9th graders. They sent us to the wrong field. 4th graders versus 9th graders. Something's wrong.
Well, and this is now fast forward it to the modern era where I check this kid out. East Cobb Astros, that's 45 minutes, not the usual 20. So 45 minutes from my house. This kid hits a home run in the first. They bat around, hits another home run in the first. So they scored 21 runs in the first inning. Oh. And this is bracket play. This team was 3-2 in pool play. And this is a World Series. This is a legit team. I click on him, check his birthday. Yeah, he's a holdback. Then I click on it, look at it again. Fullerton, California. He's from Fullerton, California, playing on the East Cobb Astros. I'm like, something's wrong with 12U sports, man, with youth sports when we're doing this kind of stuff. But anyway, EJ, good morning. Good morning. And Corey Johnson, good morning as well. Appreciate y'all being here.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for joining us this morning for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. Like I said, I am Nick Kendell, and joined with Scott Kennedy. You can find us both on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy, and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Your boy had a tweet go viral this week, almost 30,000 likes. So
nice.
That was a fun time. Yeah, it was just a meme, but I'm famous. Verify me, Twitter. I'm famous. No, yeah, we had
you know what? I actually think it's cooler to not be verified these days. It's just like The Incredibles. When everybody's verified, nobody is.
Yeah.
So, two of the biggest accounts I follow are non-checkmark. I'm like, I like that. That's cool. Now I want to be different. Now I want to be different.
Well, if I get it, you better be happy for me, Scott.
Oh, I will give you. That was one of the things people always asked me when we were working at SI. It's like, how do I get Twitter verified? I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. Twitter's not writing you a check. No. Work the site. That's where you're going to make your money.
That's a good point, but it's all about me. No, actually, it's all about the listeners. But make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. Also, follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you're joining us on Facebook today, I see we have Greg Smith and Tommy Simmers in the house. They've already clicked those thumbs up over on Facebook. If you guys could do the same, click the thumbs up, click the heart react, click the care react, click the wow react. We'll take them all. Also, while you're over on Facebook, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. And facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Check out the pages, check out the comments. You can see earlier episodes on there, everything. Our main bread and butter, though, is YouTube. If you're joining us on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share. Doing the show helps the show a heck of a lot. And also, while you're there, make sure you go to Scott's channel, which I am posting right now in the chat. It's right here. You guys can click that link. It's in the chat right now. And that'll take you to Scott's channel. And Scott's been doing some soccer, football stuff recently, but American football is on the horizon. That's got to be coming up real soon.
Yeah, we did through popular request on this channel, on this show, had several people. I know Muhammad came and joined us. Jeremy came and joined us. I was like, we'll talk Euros. And I brought my good friend in who's been following the international game. I think I know these guys. And he'll name me these guys. I'm like, how? I watch 4 or 5 games a day half the time, and I've never heard of these players. How do you possibly know these guys? So my good friend Jason, we did a talk back. We went 2 for 2, actually 3 for 3 on the Euros. So on the quarterfinals. So not that there were any big surprises, but we did go 3 for 3 on our predictions.
Well, there you go. And who do you have that's left?
It's Italy, Spain. I like Italy. I do. It's that was who I kind of picked to win the whole thing. I think Spain is just too soft up front. And then England, Denmark. I like England, but Denmark, after the Christian Eriksen, I won't call it tragedy yet because, now since he survived, but what could have been a tragedy has rallied around. And if they beat England, I'm taking Denmark. I'm like, okay, team of destiny here. But I like England, Italy, but we'll see. Spain's got a lot of history there, a lot of champions, but Italy's playing really well. Just lost one of their fullbacks who was playing incredibly, torn Achilles, which that's another discussion on here. We talk a lot about injury and recovery and strength and conditioning and all this kind of stuff. And the Achilles, no pun intended, because that's how it was named, as a weak spot, but has been popping up more and more often as an injury on these guys. When I was growing up, I remember one player who busted an Achilles was Dominique Wilkins. It was the first time I'd ever heard of it. Now, there's multiple players on teams that are doing them. And it's just, with all of this muscle work that you're able to do, I just don't think the tendons and ligaments are keeping up, so we're running into more injuries as like that. But the Achilles has been tough, and there was another one that went down. So hope he gets better, and looking forward to some Euros at 3:00 Eastern today.
Heck yeah. And guys, we're going to get into our main topic now. But first, we want to say hello to everybody in here. Obviously, Corey Johnson over on YouTube. Hello. How you doing today? Good morning. EJ, good morning. Nick and Scott and Broncos Country. Greg Smith, hello. Goodbye.
Aloha.
Good. Yeah. Aloha. There you go. Ciao. Good morning, fellas. Good to see you, Greg Smith. US Dave coming in here. Based on today's topics, let me start by saying I drafted Fant and Sutton for my fantasy football team last year. Yeehaw. Morning, fellow Bronco fans. EJ saying I'm hungry. What's for breakfast? Some Iowa tight end on the menu today. Bridgewater or Tommy Summers coming in. Yeah, exactly. 6'5", 255. That's a whole lot of meat. Bridgewater coming in here Tommy Summers coming in saying Bridgewater, Virginia has the same problem with their little league program. Senator's sons across the board for the most part. Well, not what you want. Tommy Summers also talking about some the Euros, saying Spain plays like they're trying not to trample the flowers. Be careful. If Jeremy's in here, he'll let you know. We got Joseph in here saying go Broncos. Dave Glassman's in the house. Good to see you, Dave, with the hearts. Thank you very much, Dave, over on Facebook. We got Darab in the house. Hello, Darab. Good to see you. Hello. The Pooping Hippo. Hello. Good to see you, buddy. It's afternoon in Pakistan. Darab over in Pakistan, and proving once again that Broncos country is, it's not just Colorado. It's not just the U.S., man. It is everywhere. And I hope you are doing fine over in Pakistan. I know that somewhere over in that region had a crazy heat spell recently. So hopefully you're doing safe. Gary Leeds Palmer, king of the superstars all the time over on Facebook, saying hello, Broncos country and the BFB dudes. Good to see you, Gary. Hope you had a safe and fulfilling 4th of July. Thank you so much for joining us today. Keith Cummings in the house saying anyone but England. It's not coming home for Keith Cummings. So there we go. And we got Shane coming in here. Shane Daniels saying, can't wait for the season to start. Me too. I'll take training camp. Hell, let's get going. Preseason games, like actual stuff to break down. And Tommy Simmer saying you don't want both Sutton and Fant on your fantasy squad. Not enough points to go around. I typically try to avoid the Broncos at all costs just because I don't want to be double let down if they stink. The only time that wasn't the case is when they had Peyton Manning. And then I was like, you know what? It's going to be good. So I still took him, and I won many fantasy football leagues because of those two. And our first super chat of the day coming over on YouTube from Max Power. Thank you so much, Max. And if you guys are able and willing to contribute like Max did here, that helps us a heck of a lot, and that keeps the morning shows viable. Otherwise, I don't want to, it's not like we're going to be taken off the air for sure, but Chad's always, he's like, okay, what's working, what's not working. So seeing stuff like this helps us point to Chad that, hey, it's working. Even in the dead of the off season, it's working. So thank you very much, Max. It really does help and mean a lot. Max coming in $5 or £5, saying pound. Okay,
it's easy to remember because the euro looks like an E.
Okay.
Euro looks like an E.
It kind of looks like an E too.
That's an L. So that looks
more
like an L.
Look more like an L.
An L. So the pound symbol is L, and the euro looks definitely like an E.
Okay, Max Powers coming in. Shout out to my favorite MHH hosts. Wow, Max, thank you so much. So we know the top 3 in the league: Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, but rank Fant, Hawk, Gesicki, Goddard, and Mark Andrews. Oh man, this is.
Where do we throw Kyle Pitts in there now?
I think you have to just wait. Like let's talk midseason.
No, we don't wait. That's not what we do here.
Okay,
we project and predict. Then we're horribly wrong.
I would put Kyle Pitts behind both Fant and Hawkinson. I'd put him above Gesicki. Oh man. Okay, I'd put him behind Fant, Hawkinson, and Goddard. Because Gesicki and Mark Andrews, while they are good receiving weapons, neither of them really make the needle move as blockers. They're more kind of flex tight ends.
Nobody's rating tight ends on blockers ever.
It matters.
They all look at them based on. They all look at it's like, oh, he's a great blocker. We're going to pay him $1 million. We're going to pay the guy catching touchdown passes $10 million. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is.
Nick Boyle. Tell that to Nick Boyle making $12 million a year. I think it does matter. There's a reason that Gronkowski was always number one. It wasn't just the receiving; it's the blocking as well. And I'm looking for differentiators. So the tight end that can do it all.
He was an elite pass catcher.
Yeah, that's true. But he can do both.
It's a differentiator, but he was still an elite pass catcher. He was still an elite receiver.
Yeah, no, it's true. I don't know.
You've got the number one. You've got the number one at Denver of this entire conversation, and Shannon Sharp right there.
Yeah,
he was a big receiver. He wasn't ever a what you'd call a normal, what you think of as a tight end. He was a big receiver who played tight end. Mm-hmm. And that's what these guys are becoming. They're jumbo receivers.
Okay, well, I agree with you. It still matters to me. I'm an Iowa Hawkeye, so the blocking has to matter. Otherwise, what are we going to do?
But when we're going through rankings, I promise you, they're going to be ranked on what they do catching the ball.
Yeah. Well, I would probably go in this case. I would go Fant, Hawkinson, Goddard, Mark Andrews, and Gesicki. And if I had to throw in Pitts, it would be in between Goddard and Mark Andrews.
I think, and for me, I'd like to see numbers. I think Kyle Pitts is going to have big numbers just based on the fact that Julio Jones is gone. He's got a good quarterback that's going to throw him the ball a lot. He should be in the 60 to 70 catches minimum. 900 yards, 10 touchdown range as a rookie should be. So, where do those numbers stack up for Kyle Pitts? And then where do we expect Fant to be in that group?
Yeah, Fant
there's more weapons there. There's more weapons there's more receivers, more targets, less chances, so to speak, for Fant than maybe some of these other guys, which is gonna go. It doesn't mean he's any less. He can be more effective with less touches and more efficient with his catches. But there's more weapons at Denver.
Yeah, that's a good point all around. And this gets into our topic here today. Thank you very much, Max, once again for the super chat. Noah Fant was recently featured for the Denver Broncos, and he talked a little bit about how much he's busting his butt this offseason, talking about just the process of how it's become a 365-day a year NFL. And if you're not improving during the offseason, you're going to get left behind. So he's talking about in a recent interview saying, quote, "Man, I've been busting my butt this offseason, and you've got to put all the work in the offseason to get the results in the season. My focus has definitely been first thing, getting healthy, getting my body healthy and right. Then change of direction has been a main focus this year." So he goes on. There's a little bit more. We'll get into it. But early thoughts there, obviously. Getting healthy, that's something that Broncos fans, I think, probably don't appreciate enough. When the Broncos first drafted Noah Fant, there's a lot of people who wanted linebacker or offensive tackle, and they've been kind of up against it with Noah Fant. Like people last year saying, like, Albert Okwuegbunam's going to take his job. No, he's not. But the last 2 seasons, Noah Fant has been dealing with injuries in the season, and he's played through them. So shout out to him. But when he came into the league, some people kind of labeled him as, potentially soft or not like willing to do it. His first rookie training camp, he came in and they're like, oh, is he in the best conditioning shape? Well, Noah Fant the past 2 years has played through injuries, and you can kind of see him hint at that with his first comment there in this interview.
Well, and there, you can do so much work in the off season, and because you're going to lose weight during the season, it's tough to keep on. And a good friend of mine is one of the best trainers in the world. Literally, these guys come to the off season, and I watch what they do, and I watch where they show up and where they get there. And there's so much work that can be done. And you mentioned the word there. It's the change of direction. It's the explosive movement.
Yeah.
They're not working for combine times anymore. They're working for, there's a difference between combine training and useful is the wrong word, but, training that you can actually use on the field, and change of direction is so important on there. We talk about how we look at the L cones and the shuttles for who are your true athletes, because that's the change of direction. So having him going out there and again, working on his flexibility, because that's huge for staying healthy. And then, the mind, keeping your mind right. Because like you said, it's a 17 game season. Who's going to stay healthy for 17 games this year? I mean, you just hope that there aren't everybody's going to be hurting by the middle of the season. You just hope there aren't any really real injuries in there.
Yeah, no, 17-game season, you make a great point. You're going to get your dings up. It's the guys who can play when they're, 80, 85% and still be effective that are the ones that are going to carve out a long role and be useful throughout the season. It's not like, I don't want to continuously throw punches, but Juwan James, I feel 95%. I'm not going out there. It's like, well, you're not going to be out there very often then, because if you're not going to feel 100% in this game, even like talking right now, he's talking about getting healthy and feeling healthy. How far are we out from the season last year to still be talking about that? But that's just kind of the reality of the game of football, especially in today's league.
Well, and it goes back to one of the scoutisms I came up with a long time ago is, they say you can't measure someone's heart. It's true. But you can damn sure tell if he's got one or not, and you start questioning a guy like Juwan James is how much they really want it. How much?
Mm-hmm.
Because, he's rich beyond his wildest dreams.
Yeah.
Will never have to work a day in his life. 3 generations behind him should never have to work again in the day in their life. And you've been battling injuries. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? So I don't think there's any question with the mentality of this team. And we talked a little bit about, what's going to be one of the biggest factors for Noah Fant, because we had the same discussion about one of his biggest factors, which is quarterback play. We really like the mentality, and we've heard it with Cushenberry, I believe, too. So if I had played better, they wouldn't have drafted Miners. What's his name? Quinn Miners. They wouldn't have drafted him. Yep. Drew Lock said the same things. If I played better, this wouldn't be a discussion. So the mentality that I'm hearing coming out and out from these players is fantastic, and it's lining up for a really good run for the 2021 season.
All coming down on the quarterback. Gosh dang it. US Dave saying, for show, we got Joseph T. Fisher in the house over on Facebook. Good to see you, Joseph, saying Von Miller's going to have an amazing season. I hope so. That's one of the guys where I try to be not biased, but when it comes to Von, full-on homer. I can't help it. Michael coming in here saying, good morning, Nick and Scott from Broncos for Breakfast. Great to see you guys today live on Facebook. We are Broncos family. Go Broncos. And if you guys are like Michael joining us on Facebook today, please click the thumbs up or the heart reacts. We got Gary Leeds Palmer with the only heart so far. Gary loves us. Join Gary in the love. Peter Middleton's in the house too. Good to see you. Zebulon, Job Libick, Joseph Fisher. Oh, we got some more coming in now. Len's in the house. Simon's in the house. George Fox, Greg Smith. Yeah, so thank you guys very much for joining us. Here we go. We got Zach coming in over on Twitch. Good to see Twitch listeners in here. What's the most known sport since elementary and most underrated during adult? There's 2 answers. The most known sport since elementary and the most underrated during adulthood. I think probably I would have to say probably soccer for both, right? Like I feel like every single little kid plays soccer, and then it kind of goes to the wayside for adulthood. You won't catch me out here saying hockey. Heck, maybe it's football too. That's how I got to say football. Everybody knows football. It's still underrated. We should have every single person in here. If you're a Broncos fan, you should be coming in here, joining us for Broncos for Breakfast, because football is that good.
Well, what I always said I liked about soccer is you could play the same game for basically your whole life, where with American football, you're basically done at high school. You're not playing tackle. You're not playing the same game. You can go play flag, but the game's completely different. So like soccer and basketball are 2 sports that you can play, 2 team sports you can play for life. And the game doesn't change. You may play it slower, but the game itself doesn't change. You're still playing 5-on-5, full court, that type of stuff as adults. Whereas, with fast pitch baseball after high school, you're probably playing softball later. There's some adult leagues out there, but 90% of the people are playing that. So if that's what you mean, youth soccer is humongous. And in But baseball, my God, I had no idea. I mean, I knew it was big, but I had no idea how big youth baseball was. And you get teams from little nowhere Georgia that can come up and compete with teams from Metro Atlanta that are drawing from 5 million people in Metro Atlanta and win. That doesn't happen in soccer. You know, you're not getting a team coming down from Vidalia, Georgia, that's going to play against the 12U top team from Atlanta in soccer. That doesn't happen. It happens in baseball. So anyway, so I'm not quite sure what you meant with that comment, but, you know, youth participation in soccer is huge as kids, and it can keep going as adults.
Yep. Good point. Peter in the house over in Turkey. Hope you're doing well, Peter. Says Nick and Scott, hello. So we still need a bit of luck this year with health, and that would be amazing. I mean, I think not enough people give credence to that for that Broncos 2015 Super Bowl run, just like Seahawks fans or NFL fans in general don't give that enough credit for the Broncos in 2013, where they were missing, I think, 6 of 11 starters on that defense, which, makes a hell of a difference. So you're a good point there, Peter. We got EJ in the house saying Fant should have his breakout this year. He just needs to make more highlight plays and break tackles, score more touchdowns, and become a better blocker. Fant's actually a decent blocker. I'd probably give him a B in that regard. I know we're coming back to tight end blocking. I'm sorry, Scott. But I want to poke at you a little bit as far as he talked about his change of direction, and you mentioned that that's the actual like football on the field. Mm-hmm. How for a tight end does increasing the agility improve your play on the field? Now, obviously, just in general, it should. But any specifics?
No, it's huge because assuming you're not getting jammed, which a lot of times they are, but as soon as they come off the line, you know, most of their routes are going to be angles. You know, they're going to come right across the middle, you know, drags or outs. So their change of direction is more important than a receiver's for the, you know, for an outside receiver for the most part, who's doing most of their stuff. Oh, not most, a lot of their stuff at full speed. I mean, you see somebody run, you know, a comebacker, that's absolutely all change of direction. But, you know, if you're looking at running backs and tight ends, the closer you are to the line of scrimmage, the tighter the spaces, the more separation you're going to need to get. So if he can come out, you know, you're running right at a linebacker, you square him up and he doesn't know which way you're going, and you can get out of there quickly, you're uncoverable. With that kind of size, you don't need that much space. You're almost always open. So the change of direction for a tight end, I think it's most important for corners and running backs, but for a tight end is right there too. And linebackers, it's important for everybody. It's the most important part of the game. Quickness, not necessarily flat out speed, but the quickness and acceleration.
Yeah, and it should help specifically if you're looking for aspects of the game. The ability to create separation in routes, right? If you're quicker, you can sink your hips quicker. You can get tighter breaks, and that means you can get open quicker, and maybe even some double moves, which is pretty rare.
Frankly, that's why historically the best athletes have always played defense. Yep. They just have.
The twitch.
You know, because they have to react. You know, I can if I'm coming at you, I know where I'm going, but you don't. So in order to stay with me, you've got to be a better athlete than me.
Yep.
You know, you've got to be able to break out of that and make it up. So, you know, the best athletes in the NFL are corners, and that's not really, you know, there's obviously freaks at this position or this position, but across the board, it's cornerbacks easily.
Yep. Yeah. So agility, the other area where it should help him as well, and it's something that we saw at Iowa, but not to the same extent. Like he was just running away from dudes at Iowa, you know, Big Ten linebackers. And there's some good linebackers out there, but a lot of them, you know, they're the plotters. They're still running 4-3 base a lot of time. Some of those schools at least. But it's the after the catch ability, right? Like Noah Fant, if he was able to outrun a lot of guys or at least like get pretty good separation, just putting his head down and running. But now if he can make a dude miss in the open field or change that angle just slightly because of change of direction, you're talking about going from 20-yard receptions to house calls. I mean, that really could be a difference maker.
You've heard me say it before. It's a little sadistic, but it's fun watching the 260-pound guys getting loose in the secondary and watching them drag players down. And it fires up the whole team and the crowd. You know, you get a tight end in the secondary dragging 3 guys with them for 5 or 6 yards. It elevates the entire stadium. So you know, I'm a huge proponent for the tight end. I've said it 100 times, and the fullback for that matter, which is another dying breed. Tight ends make it a comeback. Fullback, not so much.
No, unless you're playing for Kyle Shanahan. Gary Leeds Palmer in the house again. Good to see you, Gary. A little off topic. Do you think Achilles injuries is a conditioning issue? I am not a physical trainer, I do have a medical degree, but it's not in this specific kind of area. So I'm going to go with no on this. Typically, you see like hamstring issues as being a conditioning issue, but Achilles most of the time are freak occurrences. Now, Scott was mentioning earlier, you might be seeing them more, and that might just be pushing the limits of the human body with like guys packing on so much mass and they're bigger, faster, stronger than ever. And the Achilles aren't like evolving with these athletes getting bigger and stronger. So there's only so much pressure they can take and you're seeing them pop. But as far as conditioning, I would say no.
So I was going to say yes, but not for the reason that you would think, but for the reason that you just mentioned, because the rest of the body's conditioning is elevating so much that there's not things you can do to work your tendons and ligaments in order to keep up. So if I can tell from my point of view, I always thought that what was going to keep me playing is my Achilles have both popped my whole life. I can stretch them out and they go bang. I was like, okay, one of these days, one of them's going to go and then I'll stop playing. Turns out age still beat me. But I can tell being 20 pounds heavier than I'd like, my Achilles start getting sore. So that extra weight that puts on it. Now you're talking about players you got linebackers playing at 260, 265 instead of 220. Mm-hmm. So there's all that muscle mass and now it's good weight that's making them be able to change directions faster and move faster and carrying more weight than they ever have. The ligaments and tendons, you can't work those out the same way. So is it a conditioning issue? Yes, but not a poor conditioning issue. It's just the fact they're not keeping up. And frankly, the concussions are the same way. You've got everybody moving faster, bigger, faster, stronger, but the skull and brain haven't really evolved. No. So the collisions are getting more violent more often. So you're having more brain trauma. So it is a conditioning issue, but it's because the human body is evolved to the point where the conditioning is so good that there's certain parts of the bodies that haven't been able to keep up. And I think that's why, because there was another one that came in, asked about someone else asked about injuries more. That's why you see more tendon and ligament injuries, in my opinion.
Yep. And we got Slide and Glide Bros coming in here with the $5 over on YouTube. Thank you very much, Slide and Glide Bros. Saying, what up, guys? Just wanted to show some love for the pod. Well, we thank you very much for keeping the lights on in here. I know that it is dead season, and historically dead season means it's a little bit harder to get the views. It's harder to get the super chats, but anything helps. And so we really appreciate you. And, man, thank you for keeping the lights on and showing some love for the pod. Like you said, also another super chat coming in over on YouTube from TD Randall. Thank you very much, TD, saying that finally got to rewatch the OU spring game and the nation's top quarterback. Caleb Williams, number 13, looked in command already. Keep an eye on him and his development. Broncos for breakfast, Mile High Huddle for life, and Broncos country. So TD Randall throwing down the gauntlet, saying Spencer Rattler, number one quarterback in the upcoming draft. And I think right now, if I was a betting man, which I only bet if I know I'm going to win, so not typically.
See, I'm the opposite.
Okay.
I bet to lose. If my team's a favorite, I'm betting against them. I'm like, all right, if they lose, this is how you bet. This is how you hedge your bets. If your team's favored by 7, put $100 against them. What would you pay to lose to guarantee a win? If they win, I'm willing to pay $100. If they win by 5, they win and I get $100. And if they lose, at least I get $100. So that's how I bet.
Well, there you go. That's hedging that for sure.
Or the opposite. If there's a team I hate, I'll bet on them to win.
So then you'll have a little bit of money.
Yeah, I'd pay $200 to watch them lose. Absolutely. Well, if they win, at least I get $200.
I've done that with Alabama. Not $200. I'm not that, but that's for sure. Yeah, no, Spencer Rattler. Have you watched much Spencer Rattler? Or are you
I haven't started at all with the next class, and I won't until, for the most part, until we start playing games, and I'll start watching the next year's games.
Okay,
which we're not far away from. The NFL kicks off August 6th for preseason. It's my son's birthday, by the way.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, that's right around the corner. Yeah, I really like Spencer Rattler. The questions with Rattler aren't the talent. It is the character. Apparently he is, and this is pure hearsay. So like, I don't know him. So like, don't take this, to the grave, but, apparently he's not the most beloved person. Had some run-ins with teammates before, issues with coaching. I think Lincoln Riley sat him last year as well when he was having some, issues, dealing with stuff. So Spencer Rattler. That's something, and that's, wide receiver, cornerback position. Okay, like I can kind of, if they're that good of a player, as long as they're not out there committing felonies, then I can maybe overlook it.
Well,
Quarterback,
they're all arrogant.
Yeah.
You've got to be arrogant to play at that level. So that's not necessarily a problem.
But does he take the coaching? Does he listen? Does he absorb?
How are you to your teammates and stuff? Can you still be a good teammate and be super confident about all that stuff? I watched this kid that was very highly recruited pitch a tantrum at a 7-on-7 because the receiver that he wanted to be in the slot wasn't playing. This is a high school kid, wasn't playing. And so he said, I'm not playing with that kid. And he threw his ball down and walked off because in a 7-on-7 in the summer, when you're just trying to get reps, guess who didn't make it very far in college after transferring a couple times? I'm like, that's the biggest turd I've ever seen. That's the word they use for scouting when you got that kid's a turd, and he was a turd. And he didn't make it. So you got to watch those kind of things too. It doesn't matter how much talent you have if you're that big of a turd.
Was this person's name? Did this person's name start with a T?
No, I don't think so. I'd have to think about it.
Okay. I was wondering if it was Tate Martell.
I remember schools and colors better than the names that this many kids over 20 something years. I start forgetting.
Okay.
He was a California kid, transferred out to Florida high school, one of the IMG kids, and then was out of football, not too long after that.
All right. Speaking of out of football, Peter Middleton coming in here talking about injuries. Why were there so many injuries last season? Was it the excessive training? Vaughn has a good example.
And it was Peter's comment that I touched on.
Yep. And he's talking specifically last year. Last year, I think you maybe saw more injuries because of how weird the offseason was. It wasn't the typical strength and conditioning. More was put on the individual players. But with Vaughn also, the excessive training, Vaughn's getting older, right? This is a wear and tear league. Injuries are going to happen. And it's also it's Russian roulette with injury, right? Every single time.
On a long enough timeline, it's going to get everybody.
Yep.
It's just going to happen. This is a dangerous sport.
Mm-hmm. Take enough shots eventually. Unfortunately, maybe that gun's going to go off eventually. Pooping Hippo coming in here. Will Albert O get more touchdowns than Fant? Fant will have better stats, you think? I think Albert O is going to have a solid season. There is hope for him to improve in the blocking front. I know, more tight end blocking, but it matters for running this offense, especially when you have Noah Fant as your tight end 1. The tight end 2 is going to have to get on the field, and they cannot be a sieve as a extension of the offensive line. Will Albert Okwuegbunam, though, get more touchdowns than Fant? I'm going to go with no. We know that last year a lot of people will give Shermer a hard time. Why doesn't he use the tight end more? The Broncos had the 4th most targets to tight end per game. So they're using the tight end way more than most teams. The only teams above them were the Kansas City Chiefs, who have Travis Kelce. Okay, duh. The Las Vegas Raiders, who have Darren Waller. Duh. And the Philadelphia Eagles, who have both Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. So the fact that the Broncos are number 4 in tight end targets per game, you just blast that narrative that they don't use the tight end into the sun. It's false. It's a falsehood. Mm-hmm. But they do. We're closer to middle of the pack, or I guess if you're breaking it up, the second quadrant for 12 personnel. So even though they are using Fant a lot, how much are they actually going to use 2 tight ends on the field at the same time? Especially when you have this many good wide receivers as the Broncos have, that remains to be seen. But would I go with Albert Okwuegbunam getting more touchdowns than Fant this season? I think this is Fant's year. I think Fant's going to explode this year. He'll go as far as the quarterback takes him, but I'm not betting against Fant for any of the stats from the tight ends. Even if Albert Okwuegbunam develops into a good player, I think Fant is the dude to watch.
All right, I have a question for you, and I'm not going to cheat and look it up. So I want to see if you know the numbers. But looking at Noah Fant, he had 93 targets, 62 catches, so 2/3, 66.66666 catch percentage. That seems low to me for a tight end. So going back to those targets, it's a lot. He was targeted almost 90 times, but he had 60 catches. So that seems a little low to me. What are the top tight ends that we're mentioning? I would think their catching percentage should be higher than that, or will be higher than that. I could look and cheat and find out, but I wanted to see if you knew off the top of your head.
I don't know if they're off the top of my head, but given what we know about the passing stats of the Broncos last year compared to the rest of the league, that does not surprise me one bit. Last year, Jerry Jeudy had the highest. God, it was an advanced stat from Next Gen from the NFL, which I love, man. Next Gen, put out a subscription. I would give you all my money to see those stats. It was Jerry Jeudy was the number 1 tight end in the NFL in yards expected versus yards that he actually accumulated because of the quarterback play. The targets were just not on time. They're not accurate, at least consistently enough. And he was peppered with targets, but like he had the highest rate of uncatchable passes as well. So I would assume that it's a similar story for Noah Fant, because unfortunately, for as good as your tight ends or your wide receivers can be in the NFL, they're completely dependent on the quarterback position, executing it, getting the ball in time, getting the ball the right spot, right coverage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Noah Fant, in college, he did have an issue sometimes with contested catch situations, because there simply weren't that many contested catch situations. He was able to run away from guys. And Iowa's quarterback, Nathan Stanley, was extremely safe with the football, because Iowa's a defensive run-first oriented team. So don't turn the ball over and good things can happen. So you didn't see that many tight window catches. And you see more from Drew Lock in that regard. You know, he did, for as much as we give Drew Lock I guess we're not, what's the word I'm looking for? We're real with him. But he does do a good job of the high difficulty throws. He can get those in there. The big time throws, I think, as Pro Football Focus categorizes them. So that's an area I want to see Fanta improve this year, as far as what can he do to the next level. Talking about agility, blocking, getting healthy. The contested catches is something that maybe that's an issue for why that stat is lower than what you'd expect.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Travis Kelce's was 105 divided by 145, and for some reason I can't work a calculator today, so I haven't been able to figure that out. But that's about 5 out of 7.
72.
So, and then but 145 targets for both Kelce and Waller. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
So when we're talking about getting Fant more involved, that's 3 more targets per game. That's 2 more catches per game. That's 30 more catches per game. So that adds up.
And I just don't think that'll happen just because of the way the Broncos are set up. You have
I agree. And that's as we said, you can have a less catches but be more effective based on having a more open field and having when you're thrown to, instead of thrown to all the time. Instead of being the number one, you might be a real effective third option.
Yep. But it's a pick your poison kind of thing, right? And it could be also game dependent, where you have a matchup that you absolutely love, and you're going to go to that well over and over again. And also there's going to be injuries that happen because of that. Imagine, we picture on paper having Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Noah Fant for all these games. There's going to be games where those guys are either not healthy or not playing. So here, that's something to expect. Peter, got to give you a shout out here saying last day in Turkey on Thursday, Nick. I'll be in Cambodia next Tuesday. Well, holiday in Cambodia. No, stay safe, Peter. And it's hot down there, but I don't know. Let us know what you're doing down there. That's pretty cool. I need to get out to that part of the world at some point. I'd love to get to Vietnam and all those areas, maybe some Indonesia as well. I hear Singapore is really cool. So we'll see. Here we go. EJ coming in here. Nick, who is your favorite Iowa tight end in the NFL right now?
That should be easy.
It's Noah Fant.
Yeah, that should be easy. Come on.
I love Kittle and I love Hawkinson too, though. I really do stand all 3 of the Iowa tight ends in the league. Also, shout out to Sean Byer. I think I told the story in here before, but your boy here had too many adult beverages, and Sean Byer's mom at the Iowa-Wisconsin game came to my rescue. So she offered me some food. She said, "Hey, do you want to join my tailgate? Do you want some food?"
You have
me and my buddy
here for a little bit and take a break.
Oh my God, yes. So shout out to Sean Byer. His mom's name is escaping me right this second, but pulling for you. Also, he's from Cedar Rapids, which is really close to my hometown as well. Simone coming in here with the stars, I believe. So thank you very much, Simone, over on Facebook. And Mo Ron, good to see you, Mo. I see you commenting in here. I want to give you a shout out because we always appreciate your insights. He's saying he takes Sam Howell number 1. I'm putting my cards on the table here. I think number 1 overall pick, my number 1 guy is going to be Malik Willis. I'm doing a lot of projecting there, but apparently it was the Bruce Feldman, who's like renowned college football reporter, analyst, writer, saying that there was an offseason quarterback competition, a college Elite 11, and he said that Malik Willis was just different. He's built like 240. Nobody had the ball explode out of his hand like anybody else. Is he
really that big now?
That's what they said. Yeah, they said he looked like Donovan McNabb. He's really thick. He's super twitchy. He was the fastest guy there, and he had the most arm talent there. So obviously there is some consistency stuff.
Good job, Auburn.
Yeah. So
of course, someone else has said that that Bo Nix is going to be the number 1 overall. So maybe they made the right choice.
We're fixing to find out, but Liberty football with Hugh Freeze, I think is the head coach. Must watch football this season and Hugh Freeze I don't think is the best guy, but Malik Willis, very fun. We got Clayton Huron in the house. Hey guys, love the show, and also like he says here, smash the like button. We got some new loves in here. Keith Cummings in the house. Keith, we're reading your article today, so thank you very much, Keith. And Dave Glassman in the house as well with the heart. Let's get some more hearts, likes, Kyriacs in here. That'll be good. Zebulon's in the house as well over on Facebook saying not Broncos news, but did you guys hear that Trevor Lawrence had
Kevin? I will. He won't, but I'll call you Kevin.
Zebulon Omega. It sounds like a Facebook gamer tag. Not Facebook, Xbox. Not Broncos news. Did you guys hear that Trevor Lawrence had a special rule in his contract that Tebow can't run the ball at the goal line? I did not hear that. I've been busy this week. I went into work yesterday, even though it was a day off, because I'm going to be gone on Thursday in the Olympic Peninsula. But I did not hear that. Did you hear this? Is this real?
No, I didn't hear that. That sounds really crazy. I'm not saying no, but that sounds crazy.
If I was Trevor Lawrence, I'd want Tebow to run the ball at the goal line because I don't want my body to be the one that's going up against those 300
Trevor
pounders.
Lawrence is a big dude, but we're not going to be judging Trevor Lawrence based on his rushing touchdowns, unless he's drafted himself in fantasy football and putting his entire contract on it. Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, no, please, by all means, score a touch. I'd rather throw it in myself, but if it's going to be a run because it's Urban Meyer wanting to run the quarterback power option, Tebow, go ahead, buddy. What are you, 35 years old these days? I'm not doing it. I don't want to damage my hair.
I'll still be surprised if Tebow's on the roster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plain and simple.
Man, I guess Tebow just has to do an option where he's the goal line quarterback. He doesn't run it in. He pitches it to somebody right before they get in there. Maybe pitches it to Lavisca Chenault, Colorado legend. Andrew Lampy coming in.
He's one of the best short yardage runners in college football history. I mean, if not the best. I mean, anybody that's breaking Herschel Walker's touchdown records, he knows how to run the ball a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I always thought that would be, just given how much harder it is to throw the football in the red zone, having a quarterback that can come in and do your, some packages that are goal line
oriented.
Yep.
The Saints are counting on it. And that's one of the things we say, where's San Francisco going to be? You're going to find a spot for Trey Lance. You're going to find some packages for Trey Lance in there. I mean, he's a big dude, and he can move that you're going to, when Michael Vick was drafted, he didn't play right away, but they found packages for him, and where he could do some different things. So yeah, it makes sense to me.
And Andrew Lampy coming in with stars here. Thank you very much, Andrew. Appreciate you. So we got Mo Ron saying, love the show. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Mo. Here we go. Michael coming in here. How many touchdown passes Drew Lock will have this year if he is named the starter for the Denver Broncos, and who will catch more touchdown passes from Drew Lock? Go Broncos. I think we would see 20. Let me look up last year. We need to know what a baseline is. How many do you think? I think it's number one. The guy who would catch the most receptions would be Cortland Sutton.
That's where I'm going to, and I'm going to try not to call him Sutland. Cortland Sutton. I hope he has a huge year. I root for these guys coming back from injuries, and he was so good before he got hurt. But Noah Fant, it would be a good shout. If you can use a tight end in the red zone, they can be always open. It's like a rebounder at that point. Who's going to get the rebounds in tight quarters like that, inside the 5, inside the 10, especially. But as things open up, could be Sutton. Why not Judy? How about Judy? Is Judy ready for that big second year? But I'd probably go Sutton 1, Fant 2, Judy 3.
And it looks like the baseline for touchdown passes last year was right around 24, 26. So I'll give Drew Lock 24. The big thing for me with, not Noah Fant, Drew Lock. The big thing with Drew Lock is keeping the interceptions down.
Did you just name a starter? Is that what you just did?
No, that's what he said in the comment. If Drew Lock is the starter.
If he's named starter. Okay, yeah, there we go. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yep, and we got a shout out here. Nice stars, Andrew. Thank you very much, Andrew. We appreciate you. It's giving you another shout out. That's very, very helpful. Also, cute little kid there. Unless that is you, in which case,
you are a cute.
Thank you. No, not you're not. You're a cute little kid, but I guess thank your parents for and hopefully you didn't steal the credit card. No, I'm just giving you a hard time, Andrew. Here we go. And Diamond Rattler saying good morning, salute or salute, either way. That works for me. And we got Zebulon coming in here. Oh, Miller 707. Good to see you, Miller. What's up, Broncos fan? Hope your day is going well. Go Broncos. Hopefully everyone enjoyed their 3-day weekend. If you had one. If not, thank you for working during the holiday. We got EJ coming in here saying, any chance Shermer runs 2 tight ends on offense at the same time with Fant and Albert Okwuegbunam more this season? Well, I think inevitably you're going to see more of that this season because the Broncos don't have other tight ends, right? Like they still ran 12 personnel, I think of the 12th or 14th most in the NFL last year, which puts them right about middle of the pack. It was not a crazy amount. They also ran like almost no 21 personnel, very little. It was mostly 11 personnel, which with the wide receivers they had makes sense. But you don't have Nick Vannett this year. So just inevitably, you're going to see more 2 tight end sets with Fant and Albert Okwuegbunam on the field. It's going to be that way. And also it's the second year of Shermer on this team. Hopefully he can figure out a little bit better what works for each quarterback. It does seem that Drew Lock is better when there are more tight ends on the field. So that's the one. I think you maybe will see more tight ends if Drew Lock does win the starting position because Shermer is finding out what works best for his quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna for all our hopes that Sutton is back. He's probably gonna need a little time to come back up to game speed. So a second-year player in Alberto, Noah Fant, big-time tight end, makes sense. Why not? You can move those guys around too. There's nothing that says you can't line a tight end up in the slot. So you can have them on the field at the same time for sure.
Yeah, no, I would love it when teams have a good enough tight end that once they declare who's going to be on the field and the other team matches personnel and you have him in base and it's like, okay, guess what? My tight end going to play solo side, like out wide even. And please have a linebacker chase him on the boundary because that would be incredible. I did that all the time. I'd play NCAA and I'd make the Iowa Hawkeyes roster up to date. And it was with Noah Fant even. And I'd like, you know what, Noah Fant, you're going to go play X on this play. A wide receiver or a linebacker would go follow him. Goodbye. 60-yard touchdown, easy.
And see, I liked running the wishbone because I just like beating up on people.
Oh man,
So I took like the 2002 Auburn team and put Cadillac Williams at quarterback, and then dropped in Brandon Jacobs and Ronnie Brown there at tail, and we did okay.
Gosh. And we got Peter Middleton dropping us some stars here. Thank you very much, Peter. You've always been a star on all of our shows, so we appreciate you a lot. Thank you so much, man. I don't even know what to say. That's you're a very good contributor to the community, the comment section, and helping us keep the lights on in here. Andrew coming back in. Thank you earlier for your stars. He has a question now, though. Who is your guys' sleeper pick from this year's draft? Scott, I'll give you the floor here off the gate because I've been talking. I need to drink a little bit more coffee.
No, my first one was Quinn Miners, who I couldn't remember his name earlier. Was Quinn Miners. I watched him at the Senior Bowl. I actually have some highlight video on my channel on him. And he moved around. He played all 3 positions. He was playing guard. He played some tackle. He played some center. That's not easy to do. And he was a man mover. Whoever they put in front of him, he had quick feet and was moving guys around. So as he comes in, but it's almost hard to say sleeper about him now because, the big belly, everybody knows who he is, with that personality and the look out there and having some fun. But he was my first one. And my second one was Seth Williams. Again, I went to Auburn and I watched Seth Williams just be on the cusp of greatness. 6'3", 220 pounds, just a massive target. Had some big catches, some game-winning catches. For one reason or another, it never quite clicked where he ended up taking that next step into the stratospheric type of level. But I still feel like he's a first, second round type of talent. You got him in the 6th. So if it comes together for him where he's playing in a standard offense instead of Gus Malzahn at Auburn, where they did some weird things. Usually the top runner was the quarterback on his best teams, Cam Newton, Nick Marshall, et cetera, et cetera. Then Bo Nix, who he played with for 3 years, breaking in a true freshman quarterback, sophomore, junior. So again, it never quite clicked the way I thought it should for Seth Williams. But if it does for him at Denver, you got something. You got something there.
Yeah, I was thinking Seth Williams off the top of my head there. I'll go a deep sleeper here. I'm going to go Kerry Vincent Jr., slot cornerback. We know that Vic Fangio has maximized the smaller cornerbacks so far in his wherever he's been, he does like those smaller cornerbacks because he plays so much off coverage. And Kerry Vincent Jr., if he would have played this season, I think he would have been pretty darn high up there. Is he going to make the team? Is he going to be a practice squad guy this year? I'm not sure, but I'm trying to think of a deep sleeper for you. And Kerry Vincent Jr. being a 7th round pick, the Broncos have an impending need at the slot cornerback position with Bryce Callahan. Going to be a free agent after the season, already 30 years old, injuries. I think he's probably, if you get good play from him this year, that's great. I don't think you pay him though. So I think I'm going to go with Kerry Vincent Jr. as my sleeper for this season. We got Shadow in the house. Good to see you, Shadow. Sup guys in chat room. Fellas, do you think whoever starts the season will finish the season if not injured?
We're talking quarterback here, Shadow?
Yeah, he's got to be. He's got to be. He's got to be. There's no doubt. I'm going to go with no. Unfortunately, I think the answer is no here. I think that you're going to see the wheels spin a little bit, and they're going to flip one way or the other just to see if it'll jolt the offense and get things rolling. I hope I'm wrong there, but I do not see whoever starts this season taking the job by the horns enough to the point where we don't even see the other quarterback.
Well, and here's what I've said all along is the quarterback position, the competition's not going to end. It's just not. Unless one of those guys just plays out of their minds, it's possible. Goes through the first 4 weeks of the season, has 18 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That'd match last year's almost entire output. So that's difficult to say. But unless that happens, this competition is going to go all year long. The minute one of them struggles, there are going to be calls for the other one. So those of us who might be getting sick, not me, I like a good quarterback competition of talking about who's going to be quarterback. It's not going to stop. It's going to go. It's just not going to stop all the way through Thanksgiving. So get used to it.
Yep. That's it's unfortunate reality. If you don't have a quarterback, it's just going to continue to be that way. Or a for sure quarterback. Speaking of for sure, TD coming back in back to back. Double super chats here on this fine Tuesday morning, July 6th. Thank you very much, TD. Saying, just to clarify, Caleb was the number 1 2020 quarterback prospect and number 7 overall. 247 Sports has projected him as a first rounder, and his NFL comparison is Dak Prescott. Rattler will be special this season. Keep an eye on Caleb, though. Broncos for breakfast. Man, there's one position that there's just never enough of in the NFL, and that's good quarterback talent. So God bless your Sooners, and God bless Lincoln Riley, because we need all the quarterback help we can get in the league, because it just makes the product so much better. And we've seen kind of a changing of the guard recently with a bunch of surefire Hall of Famers, but retiring in the likes of, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers. It's probably soon to be Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, the Suns, at least it's dusk right now. So if Spencer Rattler Caleb can be first round quarterbacks and be good quarterbacks in the league, I'm all for it, as long as they don't go to the Raiders, right? Unfortunately, the Chiefs and the Chargers already have their quarterbacks for the next 15 years. But let's just keep the Raiders in the Derek Carr is good, but let's keep them away from the elite, top 5 quarterback category.
Yeah, and the track record for the number 1 overall type of quarterbacks the past several years has been pretty good. When we talk about the recruiting rankings and stuff, you see so many of these guys that, assuming they stay healthy, assuming they stay out of trouble and keep their focus, it's been pretty good. Go back 4 years, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, number 1 and number 2. Okay, those were both top 15 draft picks. So, they're the guys that are doing the scouting and stuff on this stuff, they do a really good job. Yeah, no, they a lot of times for the quarterback position, you can tell pretty quickly if they have it or not as far as the tools. Then it comes down to stuff that you don't know unless you're working with them, right? Like that's the thing, like with Trey Lance, the athleticism, the arm talent, the mechanics, etc. Like it's all there. What's in between his ears? What's in his chest? That's going to be the difference maker for that quarterback position. And we got Andrew coming back in saying, as far as my kid, thanks for taking the high road with the Husker hat. Andrew, I'm going to be honest with you. The picture is about like yay big on my screen, so I couldn't tell it was a Husker hat. If it was, I might have given you a hard time. We're just going to be completely transparent here, and it's not the kid's fault. It's never the kid's fault. It's you as a parent. No, I'm just giving you a hard time, Andrew. Yeah, man, the Huskers versus the Hawks. It's a good time. It's a fun rivalry. I do think that you guys used to kind of sleep on the Hawks, but now that the Hawks have been beating that booty the past few years, I think there's starting to be a little bit of a mutual dislike, that makes good college football. It's not personal, but that makes good college football when you kind of have a little bit of back and forth. And don't worry, even if Scott Frost is struggling right now, the Huskers have too much money
too good of a program that they'll be down like this too long. Unless you have a different opinion, you think they're down and out?
Well, we can get into this a little bit, but joining the Big Ten wasn't the best move in the world for them. They had to make a living in Texas, and I said, you've seen some of these historically strong programs. Nebraska, Tennessee is another one, who don't necessarily have a great in-state recruiting base, have fallen off a little bit the last 10, 15 years because now everybody's on TV, everybody goes to bowl games. So some of those mid teams have come up a little bit. Some of those teams that can't make a living in their own backyard and have to rely on recruiting out of state have struggled a little bit. And I point to those two teams as Exhibit A and Exhibit B in Nebraska and Tennessee, two teams that made a living in the 90s and 2000s. But that's a conversation for a different day. But I think it's going to be tough for those two teams to reach the heights that we grew up with.
And just to add on to that, with the recent Supreme Court ruling and everything going on in the NCAA, I think it might even be harder for those teams in those remote areas because you just don't have as much of a ability to expand your brand nationally if you're playing in Nebraska. And it's going to hurt Iowa as well. I mean, it just is.
But Iowa's made a living, in Wisconsin to a certain extent of recruiting and developing. And Nebraska had that with the walk-on program. But when Nebraska really hit their true heights, they were getting skill players from out of state too.
Yeah.
As Nebraska went more towards California, I just don't know that's sustainable. Well, are you going to recruit? Are you going to beat Ohio for Ohio? Beat Ohio State for Ohio kids? No. Are you going to beat Michigan for Michigan kids? Are you going to go down and take the guys you want out of Texas now that you're playing in the Big Ten? No. So anyway, that's my Nebraska thoughts.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. We got a super sticker coming in here. Broncos 17-0. You're going to have to let us know what it is because of where I sit. I can't really.
For that, we'll even act it out.
The pair, the sunglasses and like the point guy. The Broncos 17-0, though, with a $20 super. We thank you so much. We appreciate the heck out of that. Mike, here we go. Peter saying, loving that sticker. Me too, especially with the dance moves there. That was a good one. Making me want to get a drink with in a pineapple or something. Aloha. And Michael coming back in. Thanks, guys, for the great content on the Denver Broncos. Broncos for breakfast are awesome, guys. And Michael, shout out to you. Thank you for wishing me a happy 4th of July on Twitter. That was very nice of you to do that. Guys, unless we have any more coming down the tracks, I think that's probably going to have to do it for this Tuesday. It's I think it's just going to be Scott on Thursday.
I thought it was later in the week or later in the month. I had 24th in my head. I'm like, wait a minute, coming up this week. Now I'm nervous. That's coming up this fast.
Week. Yep, it's 2 days. I'm going to be over on the Olympic Peninsula doing a hike and going to be joining the Olympic Coast as well, which will be a lot of fun. You'll have to talk with Chad. Maybe he'll join you. Maybe he'll be nice enough to join you on here. I know we got to
wake him up that early.
It's earlier here.
It's tough to be on this early. Working's one thing, but trying to be on is another. So we'll figure it out. So I need y'all. I need you. Let's talk. Don't ask me about depth charts. That's what he's for. Wait, he's for. That's what he's for. That type of thing. But we can go into all kinds of different stuff. But I need everybody in the participation on Thursday because we'll be going solo, and it's easy to do this when everybody is engaged. So y'all.
Yeah, just make sure that you don't let the chat breathe for a second so you can take a drink. That was my biggest thing. I had the shows a couple weeks ago by myself and came in with a full cup of coffee, left with a full cup of coffee because what's different.
My throat will hurt. I will stop and say, we got to stop. I have to take a drink. Otherwise, I'll be hoarse.
Man. Well, good luck to you. I probably won't be tuning in because I probably won't have service. But I'm sure it'll go fine. I'll talk with Chad to make sure everything's fine. But you guys, make sure you come and cheer Scott on. Give him a hard time for me. Also, that's if I'm not here, who's going to give him a hard time, right? So appreciate everyone for joining us today. It means a heck of a lot on restarting this week. This has been Broncos for Breakfast. Hopefully that's it. Yep, there we go. Broncos for Breakfast every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:00. Mountain time. Maybe once the season starts, we'll go a little earlier, but we're just trying to get through the off season right now. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at HuddleUpPod and at Mile High Huddle. Also, guys, make sure you follow both of us on Twitter, Scott at Scout Kennedy and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. If we didn't get to one of your comments on here that you're dying to ask us, ask us on Twitter. We will answer you. I have no issue. I'll carve out some time and 3 or 4 Twitter responses to give you an in-depth answer. I'm not going to be flippant and say, oh, whatever. I'm here to talk football with you. I want to be available, and that's my favorite thing to do, right? To have these conversations, to get in depth about it. If you're joining us on Facebook today, please follow us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod, and also facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. And while you're there, if you're joining us on Facebook today, click those thumbs up, click the hearts up. We got Ron Pettycourt coming in here with the hearts, Larry Pearson, Diamond Rattler, Michael, Andrew Lampy, Brenton DeGoy, Clayton Heron for the hearts. We got some likes here as well. Oh, the loves, Larry Pearson. So if you guys can click those thumbs up, we're at 23 right now. I was a Michael Jordan guy back in the day, so it's not the worst. Michael Ojemudia, although he switched his number back to 13, but either way, appreciate that. If you're joining us, though, on YouTube today, please click those thumbs up, like, subscribe, and share. That can help us a lot. Obviously, not everybody's in a position where they can contribute like everybody that had today so far. And we also have to give a shout out to everybody who did join us today and contributed to the show with Super Chats, Superstars, et cetera, et cetera. We got Max Powers in the house, Slide and Glide Bros, Simon Weber, Peter Middleton, Andrew Lampy, Shadow Jack. I'm just going to call you Shadow Jack. TD Randall came in twice, and Broncos 17-0. Obviously, the community itself makes the chat go, makes the show go, but you people who are joining us and contributing are the real stars. You people, you know what I mean. You people, the stars in my book.
Here's a question I want to throw out to the community. My son is about 12 years old, already been through a year of middle school, so he's heard it all. Is it okay to watch Tropic Thunder with him now?
Mm-hmm.
He's a big 12-year-old. Everybody thinks he's 14 or 15. Is it okay to watch Tropic Thunder with him now? I think it is. I think it is.
I watched Monty Python when I was 10. So,
well, what we did is completely. Well, you're 20 years younger than me, but we were talking about a lot of the stupid stuff that we did as 10, 11-year-olds. I don't want them doing that kind of stuff, but I think it's time to watch Tropic Thunder.
Yeah. No, I remember. Gosh, I don't know if I should share this. When we were really little, my sister and I watched Austin Powers, and she was probably 4 years old, and I was 8 or 9. And my mom really didn't want her to call anybody that was heavier fat. So she said, we don't call people fat, we call them large. And then we were watching that movie, and she hears them call them, fat bass blank. And she's like, we don't call him fat bass blank. We call him large bass blank. She was like 4.
The worst one that I've ever heard of or ever seen was one of our neighbors wanted on his sheriff's star a certain word because they had just watched Blazing Saddles.
Oh,
and he's like, well, that's the hero. That's what they called him the whole movie. That's what he wanted on his sheriff's star. So that was a phone call home to my neighbors.
Oh my God. That's if you guys haven't seen Blazing Saddles, it's meant to be satire. So it's
one of the funniest movies ever made, without a doubt. So, but that was a conversation with the second grader going to school and having a request for his sheriff's star.
Oh my God, kids, man, they do say the darndest things. Well, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Thank you, everybody who joined us today. I will be back next Tuesday. Scott will be here on Thursday. Everyone stay safe. Hope you had a good 4th. Hopefully everybody still has all 10 of their fingers, or 11. No judgment if you have an extra one out there. Just no less than 10, unless you're born that way. Still no judgment. But love y'all. We'll see you soon. Go Broncos.